what percent of blame do you give to the Michigan loss? And basically the way we'll do it is Michigan players and coaches is one bucket, Michigan State is another, and because I know it's going to come up in our live chat, refs are going to be another bucket. So the total
Yes.
is 100%, and go from there. So I'll start it off because that's kind of like a kind of weird one. So I'll give you guys some time, but for me, mine is 50% Michigan, 40% Michigan State, and 10% refs. I'm a big believer that when it comes to football, more often than not, games are lost versus games won. It's more so mistakes that you make, whether it's penalties or turnovers or, just mistakes overall. That is more often than not what's going to lose you the football game. And I know that the refs are going to come up with the, multiple reviews, but the big one is the Peyton Thorne fumble. I do think it was a fumble, but like I said, that happened, in the second quarter. You had a full half of football to play after that, and before you get to the refs, you've got to talk about the false starts on the you get a false start on third or I'm sorry, fourth and inches, then your punter mishandles the snap. You get the Blake Corum drop. You got Cornelius Johnson drop. You got the JJ substitutions. You got the substitution issues when Michigan State went tempo. And settling for field goals. So to me, it can't be the refs were the reason that they lost the game. When you get this wasn't a call in 2 minutes, with 2 minutes left in the game. Like this was a call with 2 minutes left in the half. Like you had a whole nother half to overcome that, in which Michigan did. I mean, it was 23-14 at that point, and you made it 30-14 in the third quarter. So to me, that's my breakdown, my percentages, and I wanted to make sure to try to give Michigan State credit too, because they do deserve it. They weathered the storm. They were down midway through the third quarter, 30-14, and they kept fighting and making plays when they absolutely had to. So definitely wanted to give them some credit as well. But that's my breakdown. So I'm 50% Michigan, 40% Michigan State, and 10% refs. Dre, you look like you're chomping at the bit, so I'll kick it off to you.
No, I mean I'm gonna try to give a perspective that's not just regurgitating everything you just said, but even though I agree with 100% of it, um, you know, I, I'll go 60% MSU, 40%. No, I'm sorry, 60% MSU, 35% Michigan, and 5% review or refs or whatever it is, right? Because I don't want to undershoot or diminish what Michigan State did out there. To be down and being a 16-point hole. Your quarterback had 2 early turnovers in the first quarter. This is the biggest game of the season, a lot on the line, and to not wilt, but to keep throwing punches and to really go on they went on a 23-3 run to close that game out, essentially playing perfect football for the most part, because they had to. They had a very low, small margin of error. They had to convert multiple fourth downs. They had to convert two-point conversions, which is not easy. Essentially, Michigan had 4 chances to stop them from tying the game. Not just 2. It wasn't just 2 scores. They had 4 chances to get 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions, which is why I don't want to hear any excuses from Michigan. And they did what they had to do. And it was incredible to see, and it was spearheaded by their head coach, where, Desmond, we threw out the question who had the coaching advantage going to that game, and we both picked Mel Tucker, and people thought we were crazy. They thought we were absolutely crazy. But I thought on Saturday you saw that. The way he spearheaded that program, not allowing those guys to quit. Understanding the urgency of when he was scoring or on certain drives, not punting or kicking field goals, as Michigan would do, going forward on fourth down. That you got to give MSU a ton of credit. So I give the majority of the credit at 60%. Michigan 35% because of self-inflicted mistakes. kicking too many field goals, for example. Not wrapping up and tackling Kenneth Walker Jr. where they had the third when they had him in the backfield, when they had him at the line of scrimmage. It wasn't like MSU's offensive line just mauled Michigan's front seven. It wasn't necessarily like that. A lot of the long runs Kenneth Walker III was doing on his own, making guys miss, bursting out with speed. So, Michigan, they definitely hurt themselves. And also Mike McDonald not understanding. And Jim Harbaugh too. After a while, when you keep getting caught, with you substituting guys off the field, you're having penalties, and then Michigan State is having these chunk plays because you're not set. And everybody has their assignments ready to go. Yeah, that's on the coaching staff for not helping guys get ready. How many times do you see Michigan defenders, pointing, trying to communicate? It's like chaos, right? And all of a sudden, ball snap, boom, there goes Kenneth Walker III, right? So you got to put a lot of self-inflicted mistakes on Michigan. And then 5%, if you want to give the refs you can, and I'll only say one play that will blame on the refs for that 5%. Because it was a monumental play. I mean, that's a 7-point swing. The strip sack, which look, I agree it's the wrong call, mostly because I actually think it was close, the actual play, but it's because they ruled it a fumble on the field. And the general consensus is anytime there's a review to overturn a call, there needs to be
conclusive or indisputable
conclusive evidence to point to otherwise. And no angle I saw showed that, right? It wasn't that it was close. It wasn't that, oh yeah, you can say Thorns down. No, that's not indisputable, right? And they overturned it anyway. And that was a big call. But it was a lot more that went into that game that decided the outcome. And I thought MSU deserves the bulk of the respect and a percentage of the way that game turned out.
Okay, Mark, what about yourself? What do you think the breakdown is?
Yeah, so what Dre said about Mel Tucker and the coaching difference, disparity, whatever you want to call it, it's impressive to me. Not that I can point to any particular plays. The personnel groupings of the issues on defense was pretty obvious thing, and don't know if you're moving levels from college to the NFL game or NFL to college, you would think that one of your checklist items would be, okay, I want to teach, I want to know the rules. What are the rules differences on this level of the sport? There are some nuances that are different, and am I going to have to coach differently because of that? We're going to have to teach and instruct differently. What are we going to have to do, or am I going to have to manage the game differently because of that? So we're in game 8, and apparently nobody had pushed that button. Nobody had, forced them. But as Dre said, it was just obvious. It was just on 3 or 4 occasions a fire drill, and there was a play run where they weren't set. And so that's an issue. Obviously, that's an issue. The other thing is just, again, the impression I get on Mel Tucker and why he is so impressive is that it seems as though what he tells the media, the fans, everybody outside the locker room that he is doing in implementing a culture, it's not just like this is what we're hoping to build and this is, the kind of the ideal, but we're doing our best. No, we see it. We see this team execute it. We talk a lot in the fourth quarter about the teams that execute the best in the red zone, don't turn the ball over. All those things are true. The thing that gets rarely talked about is, and you guys know from playing different sports and especially football, that the best conditioned team usually does win the fourth quarter. I don't know if that's quite as true as it used to be, because of the substitution packages. Wink, wink, Mike McDonald. But there are less players that are just playing every play, and it's a less physical sport in the box. But still, it's meaningful to be the more conditioned team. And Mel Tucker says we're going to be the most conditioned team on the field every Saturday, and looks like they were. And the team just has already taken on the personality of their coach, that we're determined. We play with poise, determination. We're going to be tougher than you. We're going to be better conditioned than you, and we refuse to lose.
Yeah,
pretty impressive. Percentages. So fill me in on the refs. Besides the strip sack, one thing that I usually do see on Twitter for most big games from obviously the losing fan base would be, screenshots of this was a hold, that was a hold. You see those, and I did see those.
Look. Here's one thing about holding calls or not holding calls. Here's a bit of advice. There is holding on every play.
Yep.
Okay. Someone is holding someone. Okay. It either gets caught or it doesn't. All right. So the one time that you get caught for holding, you probably should got caught before. Same thing with the other team. All right. So, and I think I already know what people are talking about. It was a run to the outside when we were in the red, getting close to the red zone. I think it was Corum, and they called a holding on Andrew Anthony, right? That put him back 10 yards. I mean, look, it was close. It was close. Anytime the running back and the receiver doesn't know it because they have their back turned to the running back coming up behind them. Anytime the running back is heading towards the sideline, the receiver is there, and obviously the defender is trying to rip and get off to force the running back to the sideline. You get, if the ref has the right angle, it looks like the receiver is engaged and basically preventing the corner or whoever's out there from getting to the ball carrier. So it looks like a hold. I thought it was a solid block by Andrew Anthony, but I can understand why it could be seen as a hold in that situation. And actually, it can start off as a good block, but based on how the play is turning out, it could turn into a hold. So either way, my point is, I'm not going to trip about holding calls, PI calls. There's pass interference, offensive pass interference, defensive pass interference. To me, every call. That's what hand fighting is. A lot of times the guys are hand fighting, pushing off. It's all about, to me, who does the last move right before the ball gets there, right? I don't really – sometimes, yes, are there some egregious ones, like a receiver has a corner beat and the corner trips him or deliberately grabs his shirt jersey. Okay, those are very, very blatant. But for the most part, those 50-50 calls, they are what they are, guys. I mean, so in my doing that, it most likely is being a little picky, and they're not – it's not necessarily saying – I'm not saying that they're wrong, that it couldn't be a call, but it can go either way. That call probably didn't decide the game.